Hi. I'm Ben Larson, Ph.D., doing an emerging threat AI-powered cybersecurity medical risk. I know it says it in the notes out there, but I'm not speaking on behalf of Verizon. I just happen to work for Verizon. I'm actually speaking on behalf of Capital Tech, my college I'm working through. So I guess to start off, I don't currently work in the medical industry anymore, but so who am I? Why you should listen to me? Started off, probably a lot of you military trained biomed. I worked for Atlantic Health System in 2000, starting there, and I worked there in 2005, 2017. I was an informatics specialist at Atlantic Health, which was, I guess, an intermediate between our IT department and the biomed department. Kind of lived in center world there. I worked there for years, and then I went off. I got myself a bachelor's in information management from the University of Phoenix, my master's in analytics from Villanova University, and then I got my Ph.D. in decision sciences from Capital Technology. Today, this would either be called, the new degree is called data science and artificial intelligence. It's the same degree, the names change. It's what's popular now. And after all that, I got really kind of into that, and I moved over to Verizon, where I'm currently a senior manager for a data science team. I'm supporting the CISO, or Cyber Information Security Office. I work in the research and development team. I actually build what they call offensive AI in the cyber spectrum, which if you're a known bad actor, like we know these groups like Scattered Spider and stuff, we don't waste time investigating. We have an AI system that attacks you. If you're in the system, we know your fingerprint. We go after everything we can hit you with. So that's what I work on building right now in that land. But I still maintain, I'm currently an AI and healthcare technology chair and researcher at Capital Tech. So I still keep one foot in the leg with healthcare technology. I don't really research too much into biomedical sciences of the actual, like the healthcare. I work more within technology. I'm concerned with AI and the use within technology. And I'm also a researcher in cybersecurity with AI. And I'm an adjunct professor of computer science and data science at Raritan Valley and SNHU. So, all right. So I built this presentation around the fact that this is not a cybersecurity conference. This is not a data science AI conference. So what this is I'm going to give you guys kind of a quick and dirty intro to the cybersecurity, what the threats are, what are our concerns, quick and dirty view of what AI actually is and what it isn't, because there's a lot of confusion over there what AI exists as. And then we'll talk about how AI is becoming supercharging some of these threats. And finally, we'll go through a list of recommendations you can do to try to protect your systems, because as healthcare technology management, you have problems you wouldn't have in other companies. Like, you guys cannot just load antivirus on any piece of equipment you want. There's things against that. So, and I know it's a constant fight with the IT departments and people like that. They're trying to explain that to them, but we'll look into that. So cybersecurity is the practice of protecting our networks and connected devices from threats. It's basically and it's not a single thing. It's, the idea that, like, I work for the actual legal department in cyber. We have 5 cyber departments in Verizon alone. We have pen tester, technical, legal, everything like that, architectural development. It's got to be an entire process that works around the entire system. So in this presentation, we're going to cover who threat actors are, what attack vectors are, give you a quick intro to AI, just kind of what's going on with it. What are their AI enhanced threats and unique problems that face your medical devices, and suggestions to reduce your exposure to the hardened net. Okay, so what are threat actors? So threat actors, it's basically somebody's attacking us, whether it's a person or an organization, but they intend to harm your network device either through ransomware or theft, or sometimes just sabotage. It can be individuals, groups, state-sponsored entities, and attack vectors are a method they use to get at you. So that's the term they use. And one of the most popular, social engineering. You guys, I'm sure, have all gotten the emails and stuff like that. Malware, which consists of any type of virus, any type of worm. Ransomware, which is unique, in which it locks up normally encrypts part of your system and wants money for it. And then we've got denial of service attacks and drive-by sideload downloads, that kind of stuff that happens. And we have APT, which is advanced persistent threats. Okay, so who are the threat actors? Well, the first one is script kiddies. These aren't really what you're worried about. These are the guys, they're at home, they found out you can download Kali Linux, or they just started learning about hacking in school and they think it's fun and they like to play around. Odds of them doing much damage to you, pretty small. They're usually motivated by the thrill of just trying to get in. They don't really know, they don't know how to write the code. They just find code online and they run it. And then we have insider threats, another one. These are very dangerous. These are former employees, could be an insider. They have inside knowledge of your network and assets. One of the worst things you can have is somebody inside that's pissed off. They may have advanced credentials, meaning they can get access to different systems, and they profit or are revenge motivated. And I'd like to point out that these photos I made from ChatGPT, and apparently ChatGPT thinks all cyber criminals are white kids with hoods. I can tell you, I work in cybersecurity. We have lights on, I swear. We don't sit in these dark rooms like that. All right. Another group I deal with a lot, hacktivists. They're politically motivated. Anonymous might be the most well-known one. You've ever heard of them? They go after groups. They'll go after oil, energy attacks. They're involved with the UK and Russia. They're involved in the Middle East disaster right now, political campaigns. So their motivation is to get in to make a statement. So they're the ones who will typically go in and change your website, that kind of thing like that. Then we have crime syndicates. This is what I'm most concerned with here. These are driven by monetary. They operate just like the mob. They are well organized. They are well funded in a lot of other countries. Like the old joke, here in America, the smartest people we got graduating are being paid to get you to click on an ad, because that's what Google and Facebook are paying these kids out of college to learn how to do, make you click on something. Over in China, smart kids are working for the government doing this stuff. So that's who we're up against. This thing's one example we deal with is Scattered Spider. They're known for attacking telecom systems, that kind of stuff. And they'll use things like ransomware, data theft, account theft. They want to get in and cause financial stress or damage. They want to sell something they can sell. Okay. The last one is state-sponsored groups. These groups, they're well-funded, well-trained. You want to think for us, China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, Ukraine, DDoS, ransomware, malware, and they can use what's called advanced persistent threats, APTs. These are the most difficult ones to find. They just live on your network and they watch. It's kind of like I said, this is like tuberculosis. You know, sometimes you get exposed to it, doesn't even affect you. Then suddenly you're 75, you get sick, and it comes to life. You know, these APTs, they sit there and they watch everything. They gather information. They're after, like, you know, just trying to find out how your system works, that kind of stuff like that. Okay, so what are some threat vectors? So the method of mechanisms used by attackers to steal information, they launch their ransomware attacks, damage or take your systems down or take control of a system. Okay. Drive-by attack methods. Okay, there's no user interaction. You visit a compromised page and the malware download starts without even knowing. Watch it sometimes. You click on a website and all of a sudden there's like a little glitch. Something happens, and then all of a sudden you're at your site. You could have just been infected. Okay. That's no user interaction. Just go to the site, and it pops up. With user interaction, ads pop up. The X or the close button is actually what triggers your download. If you have an ad popping up that makes no sense to anything you're on, my first advice is just completely shut your computer down, reboot it. Don't interact with that. Something's trying to get into it. And legitimate looking link for a website or app or an email is compromised, and you click on that and you end up downloading something that you shouldn't have on your system there. And then you have email attachments. They look legitimate, but they may have hidden malware. And hidden malware can sit in PDFs. It can sit in pictures now. Just a simple JPEG can have something hidden in it, you know. Social engineering. These are the tactics, techniques used to trick a user into giving away sensitive information or performing actions for the attacker. This is still, to this day, most of your cybersecurity researchers will say between 80 and 70%, this is their attack vector. This is how they're getting at you. And here's some common examples. Phishing, okay? I'm sure you've all seen these. An attacker sends out an email disguised as though they are a legitimate source and attempt to lure a user to believe an email is real, okay? I embarrassingly enough fell for this myself and had to take remedial cybersecurity training at SNHU because they hose me. That's what happens every time you go to a class, they make you sign a contract. So I just got done doing a DocuSign. hit the button, like a minute later, I get an email. You have a new file in your OneDrive. So I click on it, and it was phishing because Mike Russoff. I didn't read well enough, so that'll get you. Smishing, SMS attacks. Have you guys gotten any of those? Verizon will never send you a text message saying click on this link and give us your account number. Never. We do not. Just like we will never call you from our number. If you get a phone number from our support number, that ain't us. I had one guy call me while I was standing in the cybersecurity office at Verizon, telling me he's from Verizon. I'm like, yeah, I'm like standing. What's my boss's name? I'm standing right next to him. Yeah. But yeah, so that's smishing attacks. Vishing is voice over phone lines. This is becoming more concerning as AI is getting better. Because deep fakes are improving. You're getting a call, it sounds like a kid. So which I always tell everyone, especially, older people, and have a password. My family has one. If you call me up in a panic, you don't know that password, I don't know who you are, because this stuff is this hitting. I've heard these things, they're pretty good, And then quishing, which is the stupidest name they come up with, but it's your QR codes, all right? I hate these things. I would never scan one of these in my entire life. I refuse to scan these. These are nothing but virus vectors, In fact, the only way I would scan one is with somebody else's phone. So, but the name, I just can't stand the name. But I didn't name it, so. All right, so advanced persistent threats. Again, this attack exists where a threat actor manages to gain control of the network and just sits there undetected for a long time. These are very sophisticated. They require highly skilled attacks, a lot of resources. People to be in your system and not be noticed requires people who know what they're doing. Often these attacks are pulled off by these state sponsor groups, so they have funding, they have the money for it. The problem with this, again, this is the thing you'll see AI has gotten taken over and made this much more dangerous on our end. Okay, some common attacks they'll use are your malware, your ransomware, your DDoS, and your man-in-the-middle attacks. So your malware is just malicious software. Any kind of malicious software out there, that's malware. Could be a virus, could be a worm, da da da. Ransomware is normally hijacks. Either they'll make your system completely unusable, freeze it up, or it just encrypts your data, that kind of stuff like that. You can only decrypt it after the ransom is paid. And I know some of you might have heard of ransomware insurance. That's a one-shot deal, guys. Your company uses it, you're never getting it again. People don't like to use the ransomware insurance, And then we have some other ones. DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks. This is where hundreds of thousands of things get thrown to a website. Get so many requests, it crashes the site, crashes the system. This is a concern within medical equipment because you have so many of these devices, these little pumps that have basically they're IoT devices. They are zombies. The biggest DDoS attack ever came from cheap Chinese video cameras people put in their house. And I believe, don't quote me, I believe it was Samsung, their smart appliances came infected too and were all used as a zombie attack, and they took down a bunch of websites because, nobody knew they were plugged in. Then we have man in the middle, and that's a bad actor positions himself between the user and the application. They can sit there, either they're trying to stream what's coming across the wire, or they just simply listen and collect information. Other times they'll interact, pretend to be part of the application. There are entire call centers out in the old Eastern Bloc and places like that where they don't really seem to care about crime, that all they do is collect information on you. They'll call, they'll buy, your name's all over the dark web. We can buy whatever we want. All right, so I got your name. I got some information about your call, American Express. Well, we don't have a customer account. All right, doesn't have American Express. Calls Visa. So now they know you have a Visa card, and they keep adding this. They make these data sets and they sell them. So a lot of what is actually cyber crime is not what you think the initial attack is. They're gathering intelligence on people. Okay, so quick intro to artificial intelligence, the world I live in. So we're going to look at machine learning, some stuff, deep learning, narrow AI versus AGI, generative AI, which I'm sure you guys all heard of with ChatGPT and stuff, computer vision, deep fakes. So machine learning is a process algorithms that can be trained themselves to use data. This is the main thrust behind what AI is, okay? So we have a couple different models out there. We have supervised models. They'll use labeled data sets to find patterns in the data to aid in creation. So an example is, I can give you a whole set list of housing prices in my area that's sold. And you could run a model and look, and you can see what what factors cause the price to go up. And I can guess, if you told me the house is on this block, it's this big, it's got this, I can probably generate a good guess as what the price of the house is. This is how Zillow, those types of things work. They look at comparisons. Examples we use like that, linear, lasso, Bayesian regression trees. But that's just those type of models. The next type we have, again, are supervised. These are called classifier models. And these will give you the true, false, yes, no, decision-making type of stuff. Work in the first, second, third degree possible. This is, this is how your automated driving works. It makes a decision. It sees things, gets factors. Do I stop? Do I turn? What do I do? So these are the tools we use behind that. And that's how this is, basic one. Then we have what's called unsupervised machine learning. What this is we use unlabeled sets to find groupings or hierarchy. We look at a whole bunch of information on you guys. I use this in social media type things when we're trying to find out, hey, because half the time there's something's hit us. Somebody on the inside released it. I don't know why. You got software engineers who are jerks, I guess. But I'll start looking through who hit us, and I start digging through your social media using these clusters, and all of a sudden I find, ooh, they're talking to these other people who happen to work for us. That's why you draw the line to them. And it's looking at data. We have no information. I'm just trying to say what like things do these people have in common, And then finally, there's a thing we've probably in some of these K-means, PCA, but you might have heard the term data mining is often used in conjunction with ML. They're different. You're going to hear a lot of different arguments. It's very academic in the argument, but one of the main arguments we've had is ML is just designed to work. It just you put it once you get the system up and running, you let it run. Just like when you're driving, auto driving on a car. Where data mining is an actual interactive man-in-the-middle approach of data analysis. Data mining, you're looking at data, you're pulling it, you're touching it yourself as a human, versus ML, which is just letting the system do itself. Okay. Deep learning. If you guys have heard this phrase, deep learning is through the heavy use of what we call neural networks. We try to view the world as humans do, because our human brain sees things in layers. You're driving down the road at night, something scurries across the road. You don't see it, but you don't get to see it fast enough. But your brain starts to put pieces together. Oh, I saw something small, had 4 legs, I saw a tail. And this is you've already passed it. You're not even seeing it anymore. Your brain puts the layers together and you kind of, oh, it was from a fox. Okay. That's the idea of how neural networks work, because everything comes in, we classify it at the smallest level and keep trying to add layers of it onto the what makes it work. The funniest thing about neural networks is we can build them. We still have no idea exactly how they work. We don't know what's going on in the middle there. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But the whole idea is these massive deep networks that get really big. They'll have thousands of layers to try to make it like a human synapses works. Okay. Then we have what's called narrow AI versus AGI, so narrow AI is a single task, chatbots, your self-driving vehicles, language translators, fraud detection systems. Where artificial AI, this is the goal. This is the idea of an AI that can think and act within the limits of human cognitive capabilities. Okay, does not exist yet. We're nowhere near it, even in the rearest academia out there. So the people, I would always argue, if you got somebody on TV telling you that AI is about to take over the world, or it's so more advanced than everybody else is, they're probably trying to sell you something, because it's just not there yet. Okay, generative AI. This is the one you guys have probably heard of. This is your LLM systems, your ChatGPT, Gemini, those types of things. These are designed to write written, spoken, visual, and musical media through prompts. They're built on these massive data sites. They are completely self-unaware. They have no idea what you just typed in. They don't know you asked it. It is literally a mathematical equation. It's a matrix multiplication problem is how it works. The biggest way that, like I said, the math behind all this has been around for years. It's just now we finally have systems big enough to process this. I mean, I don't know if you guys understand how large these data sets they're working with, but I mean, ChatGPT costs millions to run almost daily. I mean, it's just on the power alone just to keep something that big to go. Okay. Then we have computer vision. That's a branch of computer science dedicated to teaching computers to interpret visual information like the brain does. Used a lot like with the AI driving. And then we have deep fakes, realistic video, image, or audio that can be manipulated using AI to create fake events, such as video of a person giving a speech they did not give. They did that to me at a conference one time. I talked for 10 seconds on camera, then they had me up there giving the Gettysburg Address. It's kind of getting creepy and scary. I mean, we do at the moment, we have systems that can detect them. Humans can't really. but we can run it over and say, hey, this is fake. So for a while it's out there, but these are very concerning. If you guys heard, there was a principal in the Baltimore area. Somebody made a deep fake audio of him using a lot of racist terms, a lot of anti-Semitic terms, to the point where he was placed on leave. He had to have police at his house to protect his house because he was getting people threatened. Come to find out, it was all made up by a pissed off teacher who didn't get the promotion they wanted. And the problem is this stuff is becoming very easy to make yourself. You don't need to be a computer scientist to do this anymore. You just have to be pissed off, you know. So, and big concern, I know there's a girl in New Jersey who's suing. I think she's trying to get it to the Supreme Court with some of the guys took pictures of her, made her naked, had her doing things with AI, and then passed all around the school. I mean, I would not want to be a teenager right now dealing with all this, this social media crap. So, what are AI cyber risks? Make sure I'm on track here. Okay, so optimize attacks using Gen AI is one of them. Malware development, automation that can scale up attacks very quick, and what's called data summation. Okay, so generative AI, such as LLMs, they add a new level to phishing and smishing and vishing. I don't know if you guys have noticed, the phishing emails look a lot better now. They used to be broken English. Right away you took a look at it, you could tell. They got your name now. They know stuff about you because they can generate this. I mean, to give you an idea of a clean use of it, we do it where Verizon does it where if you're, we watch people, you might have just heard churn, you're looking, a customer might leave you, it's a concern. We look at patterns of what someone might be looking to leave. Sometimes they shut services off, and then we will use generative AI to send you offers we think you will like, and it looks just like you, and it looks very special, personalized, and people seem to respond a lot better to those than they did just to the general blank things we'd send out. So, but again, since we can use it for good, they can use it for evil. So Gen AI's quick ability to quickly read through large corpuses of information, finding patterns that might help attackers find flaws in your cloud architecture. That's a concern. They can, it used to be somebody have to go in there and sniff around. If your data sets are any good. They can pull through and pull summations of your data set. We were doing an experiment because we always have, I call them honeypots, data sets you think you're stealing customer data, you open it up, it's Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. We got them hit, but we have them there because we want people to find them. This generative AI, right now, they went there and they flagged all of ours. They said, oh, these are all honeypots, don't worry about it. That just took one of a big sword, because we would watch people that would go for those, and ooh, now we know who this person is, but now they don't even look at them, because generative AI quickly got in there and just said, they're useless. And they can be used to take sudden events worldwide to push geopolitical stabilizing messages. A couple months ago in England, at a Taylor Swift dance party, some lunatic decided to stab a bunch of little girls with a knife, killed them. He was I want to say either moved to England when he was a baby or was born in England, but he was of African descent. But within about 15 minutes of the attack happening, before we even had a name of the guy, a group in Pakistan released 7,500 news articles saying this person was the attacker, and they just came off the boat illegally from Kenya, and they had riots. You had riots in the streets of England all over the place because it fed into a right-wing hatred of immigrants. But it was populated, it was aimed at these people, and it was done within 15 minutes, 7,500. It could only be done with AI. Different languages, different changes, that whole thing. But it's very concerning when something like that happens. You start hearing information. Don't believe it. Go check it 7 different times. Like I said, you see an article on any news site, go check if it's on another news site, because odds are some of these, because they're infecting into news sites too. They're getting in there. Okay. Malware development. Generative AI is very helpful in creating software. If you guys have done any coding, it's actually pretty useful. Helps out a lot. It shortens things. This is a situation where we can take the script kiddies, the guys I told you not to worry about. Well, they can use this stuff to try to build actual intelligent malware that's dangerous. Because actually, before sitting down and building like an APT system or an encryption system that works, you kind of had to know what you were doing. But and not so much anymore. And this is really lowering the bar. It's allowing people with limited experience to create what can be catastrophic malware, ransomware, automated scale up. Kind of what I'm talking about. AI is already being used to scale up all kinds of personalized and social engineering attacks. Your emails, your text messages, they're all AI fed. And they're very personal, but they're also using deepfake technology to possibly mimic voices of a victim. One thing they've used, we get is, this was cool. I was reading this case study where somebody put in the thing where it was for an internal IT company. They're calling, they get a ticket, they call the person the complaint on the phone number, and they get, the person you're reaching right now can't be reached. Please press 1 for an assistance. Presses 1, clicks over. It's the IT department he's talking to, right? No, it ain't. It's some guy sitting in the middle. Okay. Oh, give me your, and I'm trying to find this. Well, I can't get in. What? And people were giving their credentials away for this. But these things, it's the voice, they sit in the middle with the voice, and you can't really tell you're not talking to a person or a human. It sounds just like your internal system. And they can exploit vulnerability exploits. They can make automated attacks smarter, and they focus on the victim network as it learns. Say, APTs used to take a long time. People would have to sit there and sniff around. These AI systems allow you to very quickly go through, discover the network, discover what's on the network, summarize it, get it right back to the person. Is it even worth following up with this? Okay. AI's ability to summarize data, it's a great tool for analyzing the stores of data, and determines high value targets. This tells you, is there anything on this network even worth going after? And you guys have a lot on your networks worth going after. Patient information is very important. Once an intruder can identify the data sources, they can be guided to steal, encrypt, or poison that data. Data poisoning is probably my personal biggest concern with my research right now. Data poisoning is a system where we take AI data, training data, and we give it bad data. And now the AI is giving you bad answers, because all these systems are stupid. All they're doing is reading a corpus. And there's companies out there right now that are onto this, and they're punching out as many blog posts as the AI will let them punch out to hopefully tilt what ChatGPT says is true. Because right now, example, I got dogs, and dogs are stupid. And they'll eat anything that's not pinned down. And every once in a while, your dog eats something, like, I got to take him to the vet or what? So before you go into Google, you type in, can dogs eat grapes? And you look down there, and you'll see Harry's Happy Holistic Hounds. You're like, yeah, no. Then you see American Veterinary Association. Yeah, I'll click there, or maybe Virginia University's veterinary college. Okay, I'll check those. Now what you get is an answer up top. This answer has no sources. How many people go below that? I know I've looked at the answer and said, okay, I've taken it. I haven't even thought to look twice. We have no idea where that's coming from, because if the AI system, if they can punch enough bad information in there, they can skew that as your answer. And is more and more people, they're getting that's what they're getting their ideas from. They type it into ChatGPT, and that's the answer they're getting. Younger generation ain't going to Google. They get their news from TikTok and these generative AI systems. Somebody can poison it. And you think about the uses in a political situation, kind of like that, or we all saw it with COVID, how much bad information was out there. We had people drinking aquarium cleaner, for crying out loud. That this to me is a very scary forward going thing. Okay. And AI is also automated to exploit, vulnerabilities, make automated attacks. Okay, I think I said that already. But the data poisoning is my concern. Okay. So what are the concerns with you guys here? So HTML departments are limited by a few constraints. The IT department often limits what you can do, because I know in most places there's, and vendors limit the access to certain configuration. And the FDA regulations limit what can be done to the software or hardware. You also have a situation where HIPAA violations are costly, both in patient penalties and brand reputation. You don't want your patient information stolen. And like I say, small devices like IV pumps can connect to networks via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, may not even be turned on. And there's plenty of examples of people walk past, they've got systems where you think you've got the Bluetooth turned off, and they can walk past the device that'll flip the Bluetooth on for your system to let you in there. Okay, so one of the concerns, IT departments generally limit what you can do. So IT normally owns the network, leaving you guys, not a whole lot you can do in that point. You kind of have to be at their mercy. So a couple options you can try to do is try to segment your networks using firewalls. One way to look at it is you can have what's called like the demilitarized zone here. So what you have here is you got your internet out here, and this probably already exists at your hospital. I can't imagine your IT department doesn't have a general firewall from the internet to your thing. But you can build separate private networks. And these are hidden behind other firewalls to which they can limit what ports come across. You can even rename ports. I don't know if you guys, somebody, again, not trying to talk, I know the audience is very general here. Ports, like, when I talk about ports on a network, I'm not talking about a physical port, I'm talking about a number. 80 is your you know, that gives you your internet, you know, type of thing. You can basically have the network translate a port for you. So it'll change the number, which is a guessing game for anybody trying to attack. Because everybody knows they would try to, because when you have these systems, you guys ever used, I don't know if you ever tried pen testing, looked into it. Basically, you put this thing on, it scans for IP addresses, and it starts sending things to see if any ports are open. It starts pinging, looking for like open ports, and it knows what's available. So you can translate your ports, and that make it even more impossible for them to know what's going on. I mean, the idea of them guessing a port translation is pretty low. Okay, this is expensive. It's going to require somebody either on your team knows what they're doing or hiring a vendor to do it. But this is probably the best way I call it locking the front door. Okay. Another option, you've got vendors will limit your access to configuration. Some vendors will still use your universally known admin passwords. Search of Reddit forums show people requesting passwords I see it all the time. On Reddit, I see it on, I think I'm part of some military BMET thing on Facebook. I see it all. Somebody say, hey, you can get the password to this. Okay. And LLMs are going to make it even easier. I typed into ChatGPT and got a bunch of passwords for systems. They just gave it to me. What's the password for this? Well, vendors may not, and that's a real push, you know, and you got, as a group, got to make a stink that, hey, you cannot have a universal password. You can't have a root password I can't change because they're known to people and they can get in. Okay, vendors may not let you turn off certain features, i.e. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. USB protections may not be activated. Unused ports are often still on, meaning you got a port on the side. You know, I mean, look at the sides of any of your monitor, how many ports are sitting there? And even though you never even plugged it in, the thing's still probably active or can be made active by something that they're doing. Okay. FDA regulations limit what you can do. So software is part of the FDA approval process, meaning there are limits you cannot, there's limits what you can do to harden software. Questions you can ask, can the default passwords be changed? And I say this to everybody at home, did you change your router when you got it? Your Alexa, did you change the root password on that? Because otherwise, you know, it's not too hard to get in those systems. Can you install antivirus? What kind you can? Can I disable ports? Can remote access be disabled? That kind of thing. Another concern, you got your HIPAA violations are costly. So beyond patient financial, the threat of patient care data theft is a great concern. AI can help cyber criminals quickly summarize data. So how easy is it for me to spot VIPs and celebrities? How quickly can I tell you had somebody important in your hospital? Also, how quickly can I find out who's receiving treatments for certain things? Mental health, addiction services, you know transgender affirming care is a big thing for a lot of people. You can go in there and you can get a list of everybody getting that treatment in certain states where that could be a real problem. You know, I mean, you could possibly result in people dying from that. So that's a real concern with this data summation, how quickly they can go through and read and find that stuff. So that's, you know, when it comes time when somebody's asking why you guys are being such jerks about wanting to lock stuff down, this is, you know, this is real. And this is going to get worse and worse, you know. Okay. Another concern, small devices like IV pumps, they can connect to networks via Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So I call these IoT, Internet of Things. And they're focused on small, generally unsophisticated devices. They lack much in the way of security, and most have a default root password that can be easily found out there. You know, because even if you thought you changed your password on your software, on your pump or something like that, that IoT device, that little network device, it may have its very own root password in there. And, you know, it's the kind of question you got to ask. Okay, lack security means these devices are susceptible to brute force attacks. They can be turned into zombies or bots used in DDoS attacks. So zombies are different between a zombie and a bot. A bot is basically an active zombie. The zombie that is sitting there waiting to be told what to do. Second, you turn it on, they all become bots. Okay. Since they ride the network, a single compromised IoT device can compromise an entire network. It can be used to scan your network, you know, because you don't need anything big. I remember we used to have this network scanner. I could plug it, it was that big. I could plug it right into a any kind of network closet. I could stand back with my little device and I could get the Bluetooth information off of it. You don't need anything big to scan a network. You know, it's pretty low power. Okay, so we got some stuff. So first steps to think about, and this is never the fun part, but this is the legal part. Conduct yourself a risk assessment. Okay, identify your vulnerable devices and systems. Evaluation of potential import of cyber attack on, you know, patient safety. Impact, I meant. Sorry about that. I say, what the heck do I mean by import? Impact. Evaluate the potential impact of a cyber attack. Prioritize devices based on a risk level, and regularly update risk assessment account for new threats, and improve knowledge management. Okay, I just sat through a dissertation defense. Dr. Morse, she works for the NSA. She's one of the cyber experts there, and this is not surprisingly listed on anything like your NIST framework, those types of stuff. You guys have seen any of those, you know, NIST puts one out, Verizon companies put out frameworks. They're like, hey, these are things you could do for cybersecurity. Knowledge management. What happens when somebody is on vacation, this thing goes down? Is it written down? Do we know exactly what's going on? Do we have you written out a plan? Do you have an, you know, what happens when something crashes? This is normally the biggest failing point in most people's systems because it's so hard to try to keep up with the day-to-day operations and still keep, you know, a knowledge management system going. But if you can work on that, that'd be helpful. Okay. Implement access controls. User authentication. Require strong passwords and MFA if possible. Okay. Multi-factor authentication. My advice for you guys personally on your cell phones, any MFA that sends you a text message, find a new company. That is the simplest way to hit your system. That's how people steal your bank accounts all day long. Get one that uses like an authenticator software, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, where it pops up in the app and says, can you confirm that? Because a text message, again, I can buy your information on the dark web. Log right into your bank account and I get the, hey, I need to send a text message. I've got your phone number. How much does it take me to pay off some manager at the mall to say I need that phone number for a little bit? Get the phone number, log in, get the bing. Your bank account's empty. By the time you realize your phone isn't working because you stepped out of the meeting, you're gone. They do tend to go after crypto people because crypto has no recourse. If I steal your credit card, you get your money back. If I steal your crypto, you get squat. I mean, Steve Wozniak sold $75,000 worth of Bitcoin. The guy who bought it off him used a fake credit card or stolen credit card. The guy whose credit card was stolen got his money back. Steve Wozniak got nothing. So if the great and powerful Woz can be outsmarted, I'm sure the rest of us can be too. But, you know, so MFA, and I just, personal advice, and if the only option you have on that is using SMS, look into what we call SIM blocking. Every vendor should have it. You can call up and say, you do not have the approval to change my phone number or phone to something else until I come and personally, you know, lock in with my password, because it avoids the SIM swap situation. Okay. Role-based access. Limit what device access is authorized to personnel. Not everyone should have the admin password. Not everyone needs the admin password. Monitor access to logs to detect suspicious activity. That might be, you have to have some friends in IT for that one, but Splunk, Kibana, these types, you ever heard of these? They're really good in what they do. Oh, I'm sorry. They just sit there and monitor. It's a conglomerate. It can just sit there and take all this data and you can set up thresholds. And if all of a sudden I'm getting, I normally have, this is my baseline activity. And suddenly at 3 in the morning, I'm getting a whole lot of hits on this one system. Number one, where are they coming from? You know, and that's another thing to look in your logging is, hey, what country is this coming from? Why is the Ukraine suddenly hitting my system? You know, because they're still, even in the middle of the war, they're still pretty actively one of the biggest cyber criminal organizations out there is out of the Ukraine. So And tips, don't use single admin accounts. Number one, every single person should have their own admin password. And never log in with your admin account when you can log in with a regular account. And I know it's a giant pain in the butt, but if you're logging in just to do something simple, don't make it a habit of logging in with your admin account, because you can walk away. And maybe you're not logged out right away because you're doing 50 of these and you forgot to log out of one of them. So if we can set it up, I know there's situations like, for me, if I have to do anything admin at work, I have to go to a key logger and it gives me a password just for that one-time use. Systems like that, those are great systems. Those really reduce it. But I just happen to know, don't share credentials. I know I say don't share credentials, especially with the companies. I know they give you this password and you're up against the wall, but if you can push the companies back to say, no, we need to have individual logins. So I need to see who the heck is on there, okay? Security communication, encryption. Use encryption for data in transit and at rest. So in transit obviously means when it's going across the network. At rest, when it's sitting on your drives, okay? Because they get there, and if they can't catch it in transit, it's great, but they can find the repository. Or like I said, insider threats, if they can walk off with your disks, they've got you, okay? Network segmentation. Separate your medical devices from other networks. Don't put it on guest Wi-Fi. Get your own Wi-Fi segmentation, just like we get your firewall for your regular stuff. Talk about getting a clinical engineering Wi-Fi segment. They can segment your thing. They might bark at you, but it's not the end of the world. It's not that hard for them to do. And you put it on there. And if you can separate with a firewall, even better, okay? And firewall protection. Use your firewalls to create DMZs to protect your equipment and anything else in there. It helps people can't even see your stuff sometimes if you do it right, okay? Regular software updates. When available, when the vendor approves it. If you have a vendor that's really slow at getting those, you should make that a point when you're thinking about, hey, should we stay with this vendor if they can't get the updates to us at any time fast, ensure they supply timely security updates. And if it's possible, automate. I know this is a tough one on this, but if you can possibly automate the updates, makes it like easier. Can you push an update via Wi-Fi on the pumps? I don't know. Some can, some can't. Basically, I looked at it. Some will accept it, others won't. Those kind of the ones you might want, because we all know how hard it is to hunt down every pump in your hospital. I mean, that's been the ongoing nightmare ever of being a biomed. And implement intrusion detection systems. Most likely, again, this is an IT job, and they'll deploy intrusion systems to monitor for unusual activity. They implement real-time monitoring for any signs of attack, and set up alerts for suspicious behavior, such as unauthorized access attempts, where they're coming from. Geo tagging is a serious thing. I mean, why? And I've seen it more and more, and this is a concern I would have, especially we have a big concern within any kind of intelligence agency when I do work with them, is some of these vendors you got, their remote support logs in from another damn country. Is that okay? Is this country okay? One thing, somebody's logging in from France. Another thing, somebody's logging in from Romania, where they don't have the best track record of, staying on top of their criminals, So, and unfortunately, I know this is most likely an IT job, but you guys should be aware. You guys should ask for the actual records, or at least access to see what it looks like, or get the threats and the alerts, because you need to be able to move quickly, and you also reduces your chance of being the scapegoat when something goes wrong, because you can say, hey, they didn't give us the alert. All right, so create what's called an incident management plan. All right, so develop a clear response plan, define the roles and responsibilities during a cyber incident. You shouldn't decide when suddenly your whole system's down. Now who's in charge of that again? Yeah, no, this should be a plan. You should know what's going on. And I know it in reality that, regularly conduct drills to prepare for cyber attacks on medical devices. One drill I recommend you regularly conduct is restoring a backup. If you can have a spare, normally when you get like a patient monitoring system, central systems, they normally have you get a spare, central station you can have on the side. Reload it. How quickly can you do it? How quickly can you reload? Because ransomware attack, if you catch it right away, you know what's going on, you may only lose a couple hours worth of data on that versus the millions plus, then you don't have to go public with the whole thing. Okay. Okay. Vendor management and collaboration. Okay. So ensure the vendors adhere to some kind of cybersecurity best practices. I mean, this should be before, I think before we even start talking about pricing, this should be the first question you bring up. What are you guys doing on this? Because the threat is so big. Request certs they have them from device manufacturers, engage in open communications with vendors to address vulnerabilities. And like I say, the vulnerabilities like the universally used passwords. I mean, as an organization, you guys got to come up and start screaming. That's not okay. You cannot use a password that anyone on the internet can find. I mean, that's just absurd in any other industry. Although I'm sure although knowing our government, I'm sure that's the code to get into a nuclear bat can be found online too, because it's probably 1, 2, 3. But and employee training and awareness. Train your healthcare staff about cybersecurity best practices. Send some phishing drills, send smishing drills, these kind of things. Can you get them? And you'd be amazed. One of my favorite is I think they did a study, and it's the people working in cyber seem to be more likely to fall for it than non-people. I don't know what it is. They respond, I don't know. I think they're curious, is this real or not? And they click on it like an idiot. But yeah, I've gotten C-suite people to submit their password and username to a fake phishing campaign. Kind of embarrassing. But create an awareness around phishing, smishing, other social engineering attacks. No one from any company, I would not, number one, if a company ever asked me for my password, I would never work with that company again. You should never, ever, 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 ever give your password to anybody, because nobody in a modern system needs your password. The only reason anybody would want your password is to log in as you and cause damage. Encourage employees to report suspicious behavior and potential threats. See something, say something. The main thing is, multi-layered approach is the key to protecting your devices and patient safety. As I said before, cybersecurity is not one guy in a corner. It's got to be a multi-tiered, multi-layer thing. Think about your physical security. Do you have closets you maintain, or are they well marked? Do you have network closet outside a door on a sign? It's probably not a good idea. I know people can walk by and they can listen for it. Yell at your contractors. You got electricians, cable guys. Look, I had a friend. He was a white hack, and white hat hacker, which means that companies hire him to try to penetrate their system. So what he did is he used to go and he would drive around and he would look for when there was an electrical contractor in the parking lot. Then he'd go back and he'd hang out in the smoking section and wander in with the smokers. Because when the electrical guy was there, he goes, the network closets were always chalked open. And he would sneak in there and he put his little, scanning devices in there, and bam, those hit you. It goes, it's the easiest thing to do. So stay on top. I know it's a pain. I know they're going to complain, but it's chalked open doors, boxes of cable left right outside there. They're all just screaming, break in here. This is where everything is, But multi-layer, think about the physical, think about your software layers, think about your training. Because again, social engineering is 70 to 80% of the threat, based on which study you want to believe. They're getting to you. They're getting in there. Regularly assess and update any security measures you're dealing with. Collaborate across the department and with vendors to stay resilient. Work with your IT, work with your vendors. Hopefully more of them are starting to come around, but things like ports should not be open, USB sticks. I mean, are they still using USB sticks for updates and stuff? All right. We're all adults, I'll say this. I was once told me by my boss, who's a woman, so this is, but she told the whole group, if you see a USB stick on the ground, I want you to look at that as a used condom. Would you pick it up and put it on? No, don't touch the thing. So that's what image I want in your head of any USB stick you see, because the theory is, you guys heard of Stuxnet? So Iran, we all know, has been trying to build nuclear weapons capability for years. They do have an active nuclear power companies out there, but fuel for nuclear power and nuclear weapons is a totally different thing. You know, it's so in the fear that they were getting close to weaponized, somebody, we believe is the US, wrote this code, and someone scattered USB sticks, and someone went in and plugged it in, because this entire system was offline. There was no internet connection to this place. And what the software did was it spun the centrifuges way up, but the meters all told you were still fine. So everything was redlining, but the meters, everything looked fine in the car, and it just destroyed all their centrifuges. When they got the code, some MIT, engineers looked at it, they're like, we've never seen nothing like this. This is really cool. But yeah, but it was simply done USB sticks. I mean, unfortunately, it's like most crimes, you find out that the criminal wasn't all that smart. You just the victim was just that stupid, So got my contact information. You want to reach out? I've actually got a couple preprint studies coming out. I'll have published soon for with dealing with cyber, one with pumps and the other dealing with just cyber threats within the HTMN community. If anybody, I'm always looking for AI research ideas. If anybody's got an idea, if you want to collaborate on a paper, I have no problem. We can get co-authorship on or something like that. Just, send me an idea if you got something you want to go. I'm on LinkedIn. Any questions about this stuff, feel free to reach out to me.